Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dan, the movie man, and today we have a very special guest with us, the runner and host of this channel, who we will call my cousin, aka, what's your name?
My name is Matt.
His name is Matt. So honestly, guys,
But
if
if you're on
you're
this channel, you should probably already know that.
maybe you don't. Maybe you came for this awesome thing that we're about to do based on the title, the thumbnail, and maybe you're just interested in what we're about to get into. For those of you who don't know, my cousin, who is that gentleman that I'm sitting on this call with, has directed his very own movie. He is an independent director. And from my understanding, Matt, that movie is currently streaming somewhere. Is that correct?
It is. It's streaming two somewheres, about to be three. Um, I think I can announce the third one. Uh, we're streaming on Relay, which is a new platform.
Well, before we get into that, what is the name of the movie? Let's
Sorry,
start there.
sorry. Jumping the gun. The name of the movie is Hyde. If you've been on a member of this channel for any length of time, you probably have heard us mention it in passing. It was a long time coming, and then when we were doing videos back in 24 and even some in 25, we were actively working on it. So you probably have heard us talk about it. If not, then the movie's name is Hyde, and it's a it's a modern day take on the classic Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde story based on the novella by Robert Louis Stevenson.
Awesome. And we'll get back to that other piece, Matt. Where did you say that's streaming currently in case these folks want to take a gander?
Yeah, so it's currently streaming two places, about to be three. The first place it is streaming, and I'm going to name them first just because they gave us first shot, which is a newer streaming app called Relay. I believe they do offer a 1 week free trial followed by its $4.99 a month for a bunch of like independent filmmakers. So there's a lot of like low budget independent things on there. And then the biggest thing, the most accessible is Tubi. Yeah, that Tubi. It is absolutely free to stream on Tubi. So please go check that out if you are interested. And then I guess I'll go ahead and announce because it's kind of already been announced, but not really. I am in partnership with another new streaming platform called Cineflick. And there's a lot going on there that I don't know what I can and can't share at the moment, just because it isn't, I don't think it's going to be released until June 4th on there, I think. But I'm have some sort of background partnership with them and we'll be on there as well. So that's exciting getting on these like newer streaming apps and like, you know, being able to like be the face of some of these streaming apps.
It's pretty freaking cool, guys. If you have been with us, if you haven't been with us, regardless of what happens today, however you ended up finding this channel, I think you're going to find something to get out of it. So Matt and I typically go back and forth and we talk about other people's movies and we do reviews. And today we're not going to be doing that. We're going to be talking about his movie and not necessarily a review, but more so his process. And I think really this video would be interesting to people that maybe you're an independent filmmaker or you're wanting to be, or maybe you're just interested in the filming process in general and you're interested how an independent filmmaker, goes from coming up with an idea to getting their stuff out on a platform. So I think there's going to be a lot of material here for you to get out of this. And Matt, I like it's pretty freaking awesome for me too, because I mean, we've been doing this channel for a while and it's neat that not only do I have a cousin that's a filmmaker, but we are able to interview you and talk to you about things that maybe we wouldn't be able to talk about otherwise. So I don't want to like beat around the bush too long. I don't want to plug that anymore. Though you can talk, we're going to talk all about you. We're going to talk all about your movie today. But starting right off at the top, I guess the first question, the one that makes the most sense to start with, how long did it take Hyde from the time you first got the idea to getting it all the way onto Tubi?
Gosh, this is going to scare people off if they want to be a filmmaker. So Hyde took, I wrote the script in 2012. And but through no fault of the movie itself, it had a lot of ups and downs and starts and stops and false starts and some of that I can touch on, just getting the right cast and getting locations, and then overcoming cast challenges such as casting a real life couple and then them splitting up, and then having cast members literally die. During the process, some of us joked that the movie was cursed because it just kind of felt like that. There's actually three people involved that have, from ground zero to finished product. We lost three people that were involved with this project in one way or another. So that's just kind of astounding in itself. But that's also because of the length of time that we're talking. We're talking from 2012 through the end of 2025, essentially. Um, what was the question?
It was how long it took. So I'll
So
help you out on that one.
so
So
there you go. Yeah,
13 years.
we premiered it at the Island of Horror Film Festival, and that was our premiere in was that it was November 1st, I think, in 2025 last year. And then it hit streaming, I think March it was on Relay, and then it just hit Tubi a couple weeks ago. So it's been a ongoing process.
Well, I mean, let's get honest with this. How many times did you think that, you're just never going to get this done or it's just never going to come to fruition? I mean, that had to have crossed your mind at some point during that time period.
Every single day. uh there were definitely days where there were years where it felt this is never going to see the light of day. It started in 2012. We started shooting in 2023. We actually shot a scene that actually never even made the finished movie. Like we actually, not because, I mean, we would have had to recast it at some point anyway, but at one point I was the lead actor and I was playing Hyde and someone else, and there's a whole other much darker scene in the movie that actually ended up getting scrapped and reworked. But we actually shot the scene and in 2013, and then I moved away and it just dropped. The project just dropped, and I still had that scene that was like, okay, well, I'll finish this one day. And then in 2015, I'm going off on a tangent again. I don't remember even your question.
It's fine. Keep riffing, man. That's what the people come for.
2015, we started again, and I casted it. I had taken myself out because I knew at that point I was no leading man, and uh, I casted it and got some casts lined up, and I was going to travel. I was in Virginia, and I was going to travel back and forth to Maryland, to and from Maryland, to shoot it because I still had a lot of contacts in Maryland, and we were going to shoot it, and I had cast a young man named Tim Carper, not Carpenter, Tim Carper. And he was someone that I had met during my Blockbuster video days when I worked there. And he was not a coworker. He was a customer who would come in weekly and always get the new releases with his kids. He had two kids, um, and I would see him every week. And so like he and I developed like a semi sort of friendship, and we're Facebook friends and everything. And I had reached out to him because I thought he had the right look at the time. And 2 weeks before we were start to shoot, before we were supposed to start shooting, Tim unfortunately passed away, and I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to go into like details, but he's no longer with us, and sadly, neither is one of his children, which is just it's a terrible situation. But the movie is, amongst others, Tim is listed in the credits as then toward the end as one of the people that it's dedicated to. I don't remember the question, the original question.
Um, it was honest, being honest, how many times you didn't think that you were going to
So
finish
yes. So I say all that to
it.
say, after Tim passed away, years, that was 2015.
Well, I guess that kind of
Years.
leads into the next question. I mean, obviously you had some false starts and a lot of things outside of your control. Um, what what ultimately brought you back to the point? Like, did anything happen where you're just like, all right, now I'm gonna buckle down, I'm gonna do it? Like, was it a change in mindset? Was there a change like financially for you? Like, what was the driving force behind you moving forward with the film?
I moved back to Maryland 8 years later, and 2021, and reconnected with a high school friend, Dave Draper, and he and I would get together and hang out and talk. And a lot of times in his backyard, he would just be chilling in his backyard. I'd come over, we'd talk about movies. And one day, he said, "You ever just want to make a movie?" And I was like, "Bro, do you know who you're talking to?" It's like I've made a bunch of movies, like movies, amateur movies. And I was like, "Yeah, I want to make a movie." And I was like, "I even have like a ton of scripts written that have never been done anything with." So I gave him a stack of scripts probably like this big, and he went, and I left them with him, and he went through them, and his response was, "Hyde is the one we have to do." He's like, "Hyde is it. Hyde is the best one." And this is his. I'm not propping my own writing up, but his words were, "Hyde is the best one out of all of these, and it's the one that I feel most connected to." And I said, "That's funny because that's the longest one out of all of them that had been written the furthest back, and that's the one that just never could get off the ground. And I've always wanted to make it happen." And we just kind of went from there.
Okay. Um, I mean, you bring up an interesting point. I mean, you yourself had the stack of scripts, and I know you guys don't have insight into our childhood, but when Matt says that he made his own films, like Matt was all the time recording. Like we have several. I'm sure if we ever get into that kind of stuff, like family involved, friend involved, he always had a camera in his hand. So you wrote these scripts, you had them sitting around, you have a good working movie knowledge.
Mhm.
You'd never made an actual film before that, was this big. Um, what is something that you think people completely misunderstand about independent filmmaking? Like something that maybe you didn't know going into this, that the biggest takeaway for you?
That's a good question. Uh, how challenging it would be. I obviously it's going to be hard, and it's going to be financial challenging, and that it was certainly financially challenging. We made Hyde. We ended up putting like about 8 grand, a little over 8 grand into it, which is very low budget. I mean, even the lowest low budgets usually are at least 10 grand, so we're really under that. Uh,
But we're talking about independent films now. We just had a Video Obsession, $750,000 going in,
yeah,
and you're doing it with less than 10.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
impressive
yeah.
and challenging, I'm sure.
And some of that shows, right? Like I'm not knocking my own stuff, but some of that shows when you watch my movie versus Obsession, you see the difference, right? I mean, you see what 8 grand gets you, and you see what 750 grand gets you. Um, but just even money aside, just the post-production, I guess, was the hardest part. That something you don't really think about going into it. You're there with your either friends or colleagues, or maybe they're not your friends, and like before Hyde, everyone in the movie except for Dave Draper, whose face is on this poster behind me, I didn't know any of them. And now I know all of them. And I'm getting ready to work with some of them again. And I can't picture my life without some of them. Some of them, one of them, I just texted yesterday about something totally unrelated, just because we now have that bond, and that's what I love about movie making, because it kind of brings you closer together in a way that you wouldn't necessarily be close. Like I heard someone say, and this is a probably a strange example, but I heard someone say filmmaking is the only job where you can have like a 50-year-old man be friends with a 20-year-old man, or a 20-year-old man be friends with a 15-year-old boy, or a 30-year-old woman be friends with a what you get the point. And it's true because you're all working there as like a close knit family, especially independent movies. Like you get that much more so you're working as a family, as friends. Even if you aren't friends in the beginning, you quickly become that because you have to rely on each other and trust one another. And once again, I have forgotten your question.
As okay. Honestly, like I love it because I you're basically teeing off where I want to go next with each of these. So you're doing great. Just don't even worry about the questions. The next piece you kind of touched on it already. You're talking about the budget limitations that you had for
Uh,
Hyde.
I
Um,
remember the question. It was how hard. So the post
it,
production is the hardest thing, is
well,
because
that's what I wanted to ask you. Is like, especially if you want to talk about post production, were there ways, or did you? How did you stretch that dollar? Like, where did you have to get creative in order to make this reality?
well, thankfully I was in a position where I had extra money at the time. Like I couldn't have made it today. I couldn't. Like I'm getting ready to start production on another movie that's much smaller even and much different than Hyde was, but I couldn't have made Hyde today with my current financial situation. I was in a better, I don't want to say a better situation overall, but I was in a better financial situation then where I didn't have as many personal bills going out. And in that, I was able to take my money and put a lot of it into the film, which is, and then others contributed. Like my brother did contribute, and then Dave himself, gave threw a few hundred dollars in there. And, and then we asked for people to. We did it wasn't Kickstarter. It was something. It was the other thing. GoFundMe. We did a GoFundMe, and we actually people rate and we the only prize they got out of it was you'll be named as a producer in the end credits, and they all were. And we got probably about 5 or 6 people that donated money, anywhere from like $25 I think was the lowest to $100 was the highest. So we had like 5 or 6 people donate money to that as well. So that every little bit helped.
Um, as far as, I mean, with that budget and what you had access to, so I know you and I talked before this that a lot of these folks you had on the film volunteered.
Yeah.
They were coming out, they were taking their own time. You guys were making it work with the schedules. What out of the entire movie would you say was the hardest scene to pull off?
It's another good. Trying to think of all the
We
scenes.
didn't rehearse our questions. We are related, but I did want to
Yeah, I have
just
no
go in
idea
and
what
hit
he's
them
here to
hard.
ask.
And he won't remember after I
And
ask
I
it
won't
anyway.
remember the question after you ask it. I will start with the answer and then go make a left turn somewhere completely different and then forget the question. Um, Hardest scene to film or to pull
I say
off?
just to pull off. Like in your, was there one that you had to do like multiple times to get it just right, or was there something like technical that you just didn't expect it to be as hard
So
as it
I have
was?
the answer. A lot of people might think that it's the very end of the movie, the climax of the film, and there that was certainly challenging, but not for the reasons that people think. I don't want to spoil it, but there is a moment that happens at the end of the film where if you aren't expecting it, you might go, you know. But that moment in the end was actually very easy to pull off. But the end of the film, as a whole, we didn't. It's snowing, and we didn't, and we traveled. We the whole cast went 3 hours to go to this location to shoot, and we didn't know it was going to snow that day. We just suck at looking at the weather app, I guess, all of us, and because it wasn't supposed to snow where we were, but it was where we went. So that's the problem. And so that was very challenging because in the scenes, and they're up on a tower, and you see the actors like shaking, and the tremble in their voice, and I gotta tell you, that's not acting. That's it's really because it was freezing and they weren't in jackets. They were when we weren't rolling, but when we were filming, they took their coats off. They were in t-shirts and jeans and in the snow because we weren't expecting snow. So that was mentally challenging, I feel. But then, as far as the most physical challenging, would actually be a few scenes before that scene. There's an encounter between Edward Hyde and his wife Sarah, where they're having a discussion in the living room, and things come to a head in a big way, and they get physical. And filming that scene getting the right angles because there's punches thrown and there's things happening, and to ensure the safety of the actors, and then also getting the right shots so it looks real, because obviously we're not actually punching people in the face, and
Yeah,
to
they
make
are. They had to save the money somewhere. Don't listen to
so just to make sure it looked real. I mean, well, I'll just tell you, Avra, who plays Sarah, ended up falling to the ground no short of 15 to 16 times
them.
to fall for that scene. And you think, okay, I'm falling to the ground, but then getting back up and doing it again, and then getting back up and doing it again, and getting back up and doing it again, it does take a toll on you, especially when there's no like, we didn't prep any, we should have, and going forward, we will, but we didn't prep any like mattress or cot or anything for her to actually fall on because we weren't really expecting her to fall that many times. But it wasn't until we got there on the day that we were like, oh, we got to shoot this several different ways, several different angles to make sure we got it in a way that looks real. So I
Yeah.
know she was very uh, not happy with us that day for making her fall down so many times, and I think she had to take some like Advil or something after to prevent being sore. But aside from that, those scenes stand out as most challenging.
Um, how weird does it feel when you're, I mean, when you're at the film festival and you're watching your movie alongside, I guess it was like 100, 200 so people.
Yeah,
And how weird does it feel also like seeing it stream on Tubi? What does that feel like? Because I can't even picture it.
it's
Like, does
very
it feel the same for both of those? Is it different on both? What is the
it's
deal?
very surreal. Like it doesn't feel real. It doesn't. Honest to God, it doesn't. It doesn't feel real. Like sometimes I have to remember, oh yeah, I have a movie streaming. Like, oh yeah, I made a movie, and people that I don't even know are watching it and reviewing it, might I add. Thank you for all the reviews. Some of them have been lovely, and some of them have been downright mean. But I appreciate you watching it because you know why? It helps us fund the next movie.
There
So
you go. Yeah. Um, I mean, so how does that happen? How do you take a small indie movie and how do you get it onto a platform like Tubi? What is that process?
there's several different ways you can do it. You can keep going the festival route and keep hoping that someone somewhere meets you and finds you, and someone somewhere being like famous or has inside connections finds you and then offers you some sort of streaming deal or some sort of physical media deal, or someone from Disney or Netflix is in some, like if you go to like larger, I'm not talking like little local film festivals, I'm talking like take it out to California, take it out to like these larger big name festivals. Those are the types of places where you're going to get like Disney executives and Netflix executives and things like that occasionally there. And just because they're there doesn't mean your movie's getting going to get bought by them, right? Um, so most of the time for independent filmmakers, you kind of just have to do it yourself and figure out what that looks like. We didn't really, we had talked about running the film festival circuit. We only did the one festival, mainly because by the time that was over, all the other festivals had already come and gone as well, and we could have waited and kept going. Like Hyde could be playing all this year in film festivals if I had wanted. But honestly, I didn't have it in me. I know a lot of the cast didn't have it in them. Like we all felt burnout. Like it took us a year to film it. We filmed it throughout from February of 2024 through December of 2024 is what it took to film the movie. So we were all really burnt out. And it's because we were only shooting on weekends. So every week, literally every weekend for a year, it consumed our lives. And when we weren't doing that, and then beyond that, the actors were done in December 24. The first 8 to 9 months of 25, my brother and I were in post production, editing, and doing this. So he and I were really burnt out. So there it is. I've lost the question.
No, well, I guess that brings a good point. I mean, going back to that process of post production.
Mhm.
Um, is there anything that you would have done differently on this side, or will you do things differently on your next film? Not to get too specific into that because I think that deserves its own space. But what do you think are the key takeaways from that process?
I just remember the question, the answer to the question, the last question, and I'm sorry I'm all over the place, but it is past my bedtime as we record this.
Old man over here.
Um, is so we were able to get distribution through basically self-distribution and using a third-party partner. There's several out there. We are currently using Film Hub, which is a well-known third-party partner that will take your film free of charge and put it out into the Netflixes and the Disneys and the Tubies and the everything else of the world, and basically sell it to them for you. If they'll pitch it, there's no guarantee that they'll buy it, but they'll pitch it. And then once a company buys it or licenses it, they're not necessarily buying the film, they're licensing the film. Once they license the film, then you start to make a profit of that. And then from there, Film Hub, where they make their money, is they get a percentage of the money that you make. So that's how that worked. Now I'm going to jump to your next question,
Well,
which
let's scrap that question for a second because I
okay.
think this probably leads better into this. As far as like the business side of filmmaking, was there anything that you hadn't considered when you were originally making the film that you kind of had to learn as you went?
that I hadn't considered.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that I hadn't considered. I think it was just more like I'll deal with it when I get there, and then when getting there, like okay, now how do I tackle this? Like
Specifically, and again, I have a little bit of insight into this. Specifically, when it came down to who you're going to go through for, let's say, coloring, how you're going to handle Foley, how you're going to handle your
okay,
post production, how you're going to do that. What did you know going into it? What did you have to find out? Because I know you ended up having to look through like a couple different avenues to do different
hmm
parts of your post production.
yeah,
What did you figure out there?
my brother used a Foley program for sound effects and things of that nature. And so we did all the Foley. Like we had talked about doing physical Foley, like physical, for those that aren't familiar, Foley is basically sound effects, like someone touching a door, someone clicking a pen or whatever. Any kind of noise that's not verbal dialogue is Foley. And so every single sound you hear in Hyde is not the actual sounds of what those things sound like. Everything from the doors opening and closing to the footsteps on the floor to people, the rustling of the clothes to sitting down on the couch to taking the jacket off to putting the jacket on to scratching the face or punching in the face or gunshots. Every single noise that you hear in the movie, with the exception of verbal dialogue, is essentially fake. And we foleyed the whole movie, and we had talked about doing real foley, real sound, like recreating actual sound effects. But we found the faster way was to go through a program to do that. That you just kind of pay for, and then they have a thousands of sounds. You just kind of type in what you're looking for, and it gives you the sound. And then for color grading, we hired somebody off the internet that we found that we liked, and we hired him. And then Mitch kind of did everything else as far as the music and editing and everything else that it kind of needed. We did hire someone else, Eric Karge, who I used to work with, local to the area, and he's big into music. He actually was a country music singer for a long time, and he actually did our audio mixing and mastering, which is something I really didn't know anything about going into the movie either, was what all that entails and why it's important to mix and master your audio to make it sound clearer. So,
Right. A lot of good tips and tricks and learned lessons there, I think. Um, so some more of the fun questions, I
okay.
think, some more creative side things. Um, I guess starting with this, what was the funniest or most chaotic thing that happened while filming?
Funniest or most chaotic? know. Uh, I would say the funniest. Okay, we shot a sex scene, and that was awkward as you can imagine, right? And I've never, all the amateur movies I made, never shot a sex scene before. I technically still didn't shoot the sex scene. My brother did, and I wasn't even in the room. I went into the living room. We had a screen that I could watch everything he was filming as he was filming it. So I was in the next room just to make it as private as humanly possible. So there's literally only Mitch, the cameraman, and the two actors. And to get different angles, he's standing on top of the bed. And at one point, I hear Avra go, "Ow!" I'm like, "What happened?"
I also love that your camera's like
Yes,
freaking out
camera's
while you're
moving all
doing
over.
this.
And I go, "What happened?" And Mitch accidentally stepped on her foot while she's in the bed.
Oh my god.
So it was funny. And I would say the only other thing that kind of strikes me as kind of being funny, not chaotic. That was the sex scene was kind of chaotic, but the funniness was seeing the first time they fight. It's my favorite scene in the whole movie. It's actually the only scene from the movie that's uploaded on this YouTube page at the moment. And it's a real raw fight, and it makes you uncomfortable watching, especially if you watch from start to finish. And you,
Think from seeing that in the when we went to the film festival,
yeah,
everybody when that popped up, I think went quiet, and then you got like the oohs and ahs and that kind of thing. But it was definitely like a whole different energy in that scene.
yeah, it changes the tone of the movie. It really does. Um, it it was so I'm so proud of that scene, and just to know that when we were filming it, there was laughter and friendship and not that tone at all behind the scenes. And like she slaps him at one point, at 2 points, she slaps him, and we were just laughing and joking that she was actually going to slap him, and she, of course, she didn't. And but it looks like she did, and it sounds like she did. But that scene was kind of funny because getting the slap just right, timing it, and then like where like, Dave, if she actually hits you, just go with it. Just go with it. But she never did, and it turned out great. And like I said, it's my favorite scene in the movie, and it really does. It's a tone shifter. It shifts the whole movie from what it was to what it becomes. And I wanted that. If we were to talk to Mitch, he would tell you very early on. I said I wanted this to feel like two different movies. In the beginning, I want it to be one way, very almost lighthearted and very cliche, like family, like, oh, the dad missed the baseball game, and oh, blah blah blah. He's getting a promotion at work. Very cliche family drama. And then it shifts, and I wanted the darker thriller horror elements to feel totally different from the beginning of the movie. And really, if you watch it with that lens, you realize they're night and day.
Really? You're not even gonna rinse that first?
What's the point of having a dishwasher if you have to wash it by hand first?
Just give it to me.
No. No. I got it. Happy?
Yes. His birthday's coming up. I thought we could invite some people over, have a little celebration. Kind of a celebration of his life, you know?
That's a stupid idea.
What?
You heard me. It's a stupid idea. Not having a party.
Why? Why not?
He's dead. Our son is dead. Dylan is dead. And no amount of party or people or anything is going to bring him back.
How dare you? At least I'm trying to keep our son's memory alive. What do you do all day? Get up, go to work, come home, and then when you are here, you walk around like a damn zombie. God, Eddie, I know you're hurting. I'm hurting too. But you're shutting everyone and everything out. It's not healthy. Brad called me today. He says he doesn't think you're ready to go back to work.
Oh, so now you talk about me to my friends behind my back? I'm sorry that I can't just get over our son's death in 5 seconds like you evidently can. I'm not having a birthday party, Sarah. Especially since it hasn't even been a month since he's been killed. You ask how dare I? How dare you? I mean, what do you do around here all day? You sit on your ass watching TV, not paying attention to the world around you? It's just like you weren't paying attention the day our boy was killed.
Excuse me?
You fucking heard me. Maybe if you were doing your job as a mother, our son would still be alive to celebrate his birthday.
Get out! Get out!
Um, Leading into the next piece, Matt. So, just talk about creative changes. So let's say that you had 2 times, 3 times the budget that you were working with here on this project.
Okay.
What would be the biggest thing or the first thing that you change with your film?
Um, it's gonna sound cliche, but probably not much. I mean, obviously, we'd probably have a better camera. We'd probably um, there'd be there'd be better effects, things like that. But overall, probably not much. I mean, you could go the route of like getting professional actors, so you have names in your movie and things like that, and that would maybe be something. But we held a small meeting before at the premiere before it premiered. Like we were minutes away from going. I was minutes away from going on stage to introduce it, and like they were literally like calling for us, like, "Hey, you're on in like 5 minutes." And I grabbed the cast together real quick, and I had like a quick meeting with them where I got emotional, and as always, and then like was kind of telling them. I told them then I was like, I love what we created. I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I told them, I said, I wouldn't trade you guys for someone else in Hollywood. And I believe that. Is it the best acting you'll ever see? No, because they're not professionals. But you know what? They're locals, they're friends, they're family members, they're people that like, and not to say like if I worked with insert Hollywood name, I would become their friend too, but I wouldn't trade those relationships. So ultimately, the answer is maybe a better camera, maybe a couple of better special effects, but overall, I think I'm happy with what it is.
What advice would you give to somebody who wants to make a movie but feels intimidated by the overall process?
I've been asked this question a lot. So I'm going to give, if you've heard me answer this before, it's probably the same answer or a version of it. Everyone can make a movie if that's what they want to do. Everyone has that power now. And it used to be a thing where you had to live in Hollywood, you had to be in New York or California, you had to have the right equipment, you had to know somebody who knows somebody who slept with somebody's sister who knew somebody's cousin. It's not like that anymore. And I mean, it's so accessible, and not just like in the way that a nobody was able to get my film to a film festival and get it on streaming. Not only is that much more obtainable, but as far as just the making of the movie, everyone has these in their pockets every day. 28 years later, 28 years later, it wasn't the Bone Temple, but it was the first 28 years later, was filmed on iPhone 15. Lots of iPhone 15s, not just one single iPhone 15, but it
Fun
was
fact.
but it was filmed with iPhone 15s. Anyone can make a movie, and you got to start with you just got to do the thing. That's the biggest step, is committing to do it. Once you do it, once you're in, then it's kind of figuring it out as you go and like, okay, this worked or this isn't going to work. What can I do to make it work? Or this worked for this time, but now I can do it better next time. And literally every single project I've ever done, including the amateur films way back in the day, I feel have gotten significantly better each one. Like one day I want to have like a Matte Film Festival and just watch everything I've ever made from the no budget amateur stuff from when we were kids all the way through Hyde or wherever I'm at the current moment, you know? And I think that would be entertaining, A, because some of it's going to be really bad. And B, because you get to see the growth. Each film I grow, and I was talking to a fellow filmmaker today who's from Delaware, and he was talking about how he's like on his third or fourth film now, and good for him. And he's talking about how he's learned something each time and how he's growing as a filmmaker each time. And I'm like, yeah, man, that's what it is. That's the beauty of it. Like, even though I'm starting number two, I'm actually on like number 11. So it's just the beauty of it. And you gotta commit to it because if you're scared or you let it hold you back, you'll never do it. And that's with anything. That's with writing a book, doing a podcast, making a movie, recording a song, anything. You got to make take that first step and make the challenge. And with film and with a lot of things, it's all you get all could be done right. Well, I don't have the right camera or I don't have start here. Even if it just goes to YouTube. Everyone's got a YouTube channel or can get a YouTube channel. Start there. Put it out into the world. And what's the worst that can happen? Nobody watches it. Okay, so you try again. People watch it and they don't like it. Take that criticism. What don't they like about it? Are they just being mean because it's the internet, or is there something you can learn? So,
Good stuff. So overall, I feel like I probably have a general idea what your answer is going to be based on your last answer. But do you think that filmmaking is more about talent or stubbornness?
both. You need both. You need the talent to be able to pull it off. And I was just talking about how everyone can do with their phones. I don't mean that pull it off, but I mean like to be able to learn what you're doing and learn your craft. And then as actors too, you need that talent. You need the talent, whether it's your friends or whatever. You need the talent. The stubbornness comes in where you're going to hit every roadblock possible, whether it be money, whether it be costumes, whether it be filming schedules, not lining up. Oh, well, this person's available this day, but this person's not available until that day, but that person isn't available till that day. So now we got to find a third day, that kind of thing. Or if I hadn't already financials, if I didn't already say that, or anything, any kind of or death, literal death can happen. You never know what you're gonna have to overcome, and you're gonna have to maintain the stubbornness to stick with it and overcome it. Because if I had given up as soon, even let's take all the other stuff out of it, right? We just focus on when we started in 2024 with filming. Take the 2021 stuff out, take all the 2020, 2012 and 2015, take all that stuff out. Just focusing on 2024. If I'd given up the first time it got hard, we wouldn't be here talking today. And we certainly wouldn't have made it very far. We would have maybe had a couple of days worth of film and then been done. So stick with it.
And then last question for you, Matt. With everything that you went through with Hyde, with every weekend that you gave up, with every budget constraint that hit you, with the loss that you dealt with, what the heck drives a person to be so crazy as to want to do it again?
The love of it. If it's what you love, then even though you're like, do I really want to get back into this? It's the days on set, especially if you're a writer slash director, because then you get to see your words come to life right then and there. Like it's there it's a high that you can't really get anywhere else. When you've written the words and you especially if you've been sitting on the story for a little bit and so you've read it over and over again yourself and then seeing it literally come to life from in front of you before the world gets to see it, before editing, you're just there on set watching it happen and they're speaking your words. That's a feeling that I don't think a whole lot of things come close to. And just the love of film and just the love of filmmaking. I post-production is a pain, not gonna lie. It is. It sucks. Wish I could have someone do it for me, but as an independent filmmaker, I can't. Uh, but being on set those days, recording and filming and seeing, being with the actors and making those bonds and those friendships and seeing the story come to life and bringing the story to life, that's what makes me do it again.
Well, Matt, I think you definitely have given us some insight into your process, your thoughts, your feelings, a lot of struggle. It seems like, especially with that post production.
Yeah.
But I definitely appreciate you taking the time and talking to us today. And hopefully, for our folks out here that have joined us, hopefully they, took something from this experience. And I'm sure, like we've talked about it before, Matt and I like to have the interaction, the feedback. And I'm sure that if you're an independent filmmaker trying to get into the game, if you're interested in making a connection, this guy right here is probably a good person to reach out to. I mean, the man, I kid you not. When I was younger, he worked at Blockbuster, right? But if you went into his freaking closet, which I know that sounds crazy, like I went into his closet. Yeah, when I went into his closet, his freaking back room closet was literally like a freaking Blockbuster itself in there. I don't know how many movies you had, but it was
At that time,
ridiculous.
it was hundreds, and later in life, it became over 1,000. Of course, now everything's streaming, so I don't have nearly the collection as I used to. I do have a collection down in my basement, but not nearly like I used to. But yeah, that's film school, bro. You don't need to go to college or I mean, I'm not saying don't go to college. I'm not putting that out there. But if you can't afford it, or how do I? You don't need film school to become a filmmaker. Not in today's world. Not in the last really 30 years. You really haven't. Just watch movies. And I steal from Tom Cruise right now, and I'm not trying to, but there's that famous clip of him saying, "I watch a movie a day. I try to watch a movie a day." That's what you do. I watch a movie a day. There's very few days that go by where I don't watch at least one movie. And weekends, all bets are off. I'm watching 4 or 5 movies. Sometimes I think one time I did like 6 movies in one day. And that means A, I have no life, and B, I just love it. And you learn something without even realize you're learning it, whether it be watching the actors or watching how the camera moves or listening to the writing, especially when you get on this side of it, you start picking up on, the writing's not really good. I had never said that before 2024. I don't think I'd ever watched a movie and was like, the writing is weak. I do that more than I'd like to admit now. So, and I'm no writer, I'm not like a professional writer that knows all about writing, but it's things like that that you pick up on without realizing. So just that's your film school. Just watch movies. Just watch anything you can. Oh, well, I only like Marvel movies or I would say expand. Don't stick to one genre. When people say, "What's your favorite type of movie?" I have movies that I lean more one way or another. Like I love dramas, I love horror, I love coming of age, but I watch everything. And I even when we started doing this channel, 21 or 20, whenever it was, when we started doing the movie reviews, I was not a I you couldn't get me to watch a foreign film where I had to read subtitles or a musical. Dear God, you couldn't get me to watch a musical. Now, those are some of my favorite films. I love watching musicals. I love watching foreign films and reading the subtitles. Like that's exciting sometimes because especially because a lot of times those foreign films are way better than the American films. But yeah, I'm rambling again. I'll end it there. I'll put a bow on it, but it teaches you to broaden your horizons and you learn more by watching more.
Thank you for that insight, Mr. Matt, and honestly sharing your passion. Again, guys, if you're out there, go ahead, take a look at it. Hyde's that movie poster right behind his shoulder is the same screen or the same overview cover art that you're going to see for that video on Tubi. If you go to look to stream it, watch it, and then also the other we said Cineplex. What was that other one, Matt? I'm sorry.
So it's on Tubi, it's on Relay, and then probably a couple days after this drops, it'll be on Cineflick,
So check
which
it
is
out. Check it out. Matt, thank you so much for your time today.
thank
If
you.
you like this, like, comment, subscribe, send some questions to Matt. If you had some, I'm sure I'm not a professional interviewer. This is my first ever recorded interview. So
You did
here,
great.
here you go. Appreciate it. But if you have questions I missed, put them in there. I'm sure Matt's an open book. He would love to talk about this movie. I know it. I know Matt. He would love to talk. He did here. He answered questions we didn't ask. He forgot the questions I did. It was a good time.
That was a bad look for a while. I'm glad I stopped doing that because I was forgetting like every question.
It's okay. Like I said, just keep going with it, man. We got to where we wanted to go. But Matt, it's your channel. I love how you end up the sign off on these, so I'm gonna let you sign us off.
Yeah. Everybody, thank you so much for checking out this video and for hopefully checking out Hyde. Have a great rest of your week and love one another.
See you guys.